So Vesper. So most of you guys probably don't, by the sounds, don't have Vesper. We do have one. This is, as I said before, becoming an integrated system that brings VHF, AIS, and boat monitoring all into one. It's a very easy add-on to a boat. New Zealand designed and engineered, so it's across the ditch there, and same with Fusion. They're smart bastards over there. So 2007, very young company. So we bought them in 2022, and then from there we've basically just been slowly integrating them, and we now build Vesper as well. So we still got pretty much all of our Vesper engineers over in New Zealand that are still working on the product, engineering, constantly updating and creating new models. But this is becoming the one-stop unit for all of that boat monitoring and safety. So we've got a couple units here. I will hand them around. So they're all in demo mode, but basically this gives you the ability to monitor the vessel via an app. So it's a subscription based. So whereas what I was talking about the on deck before, this is basically the elite version of on deck. Still have their differences, but this is a subscription base. You don't have to pay the subscription. That's just an extra level. What was that? Oh, man overboard. Someone triggered man. I was like, oh, we can get reception from here.
What did I do?
Oh,
Triggered man overboard.
I think you triggered man overboard. It's in demo mode anyway, so it's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
What's the app called?
Be pardon?
What's the app called?
So it's so you've got Vesper boat monitor. Yeah, you've got onboard, and then you've got monitor. Which, hang on, let me just.
Yeah, I think it is just monitor.
Yeah, monitor. Yeah, onboard app, which is basically gives you full functionality of the VHF or the handpiece minus the VHF. So that's where you can start to send anchor drag, all that. We'll get to that in a sec. All right. So obviously we've got our module, our brains here. We've got two different models. You've either got a tethered handpiece, which is basically constantly powered. All that is power. So it'll stay fully charged all the time, or you've got a remote one. The remote one sits in a little dock like that, so when you stow it, it will be charging. That's been off for probably 2 hours now, and I think it's dropped like 15-20%. So they've got good battery, but it's not something that you would charge once and have for a week off it. So yeah, so you've got a wired and a wireless. You can run, I think, up to 4 of these in a boat, so you can have them all around the boat. We can get into start running, setting anchor drag, alarms, all that sort of stuff through this system.
So it still piggybacks off your main screen.
Still will show all the AIS devices and everything on the screen,
Yeah.
but outside of that, it's got way more. So it's your VHF, it's your AIS, send and receive, so class B, and DSC calling, as well as monitoring all in the one. So instead of buying an on-deck, a VHF, and an AIS 800, you would just go to one of these, and that's got everything built in. So very familiar interface. You've got the buttons down the side. We can go from plotter, directory, so all of any close AIS targets or AIS vessels around you, we can go to directory, and then we can basically go through and independently select one of these targets. So you can see their heading, their speed, where they're based, their call sign, and you can also do a direct DSC call to them. So if you wanted to alert them directly, you can pick a channel that you want to call on, and then you could call that vessel one-to-one. It would still broadcast over the whole channel, but you're picking that vessel directly to get their attention. So it said, so VHF, DSC, and AIS all into the one, and then the one VHF antenna.
Sorry, Harry. Is the communication between that and the VHF impacted at all by the surroundings of where you are on the boat?
No, so we'll get to that. So we'll get to that when we touch. You can make it a lot wider. Yeah. So yeah, so class B, 5 watt. So in class B, that's class leading is 5 watt output. So you've got AIS or smart alarms that are a human voice. So it's not like a robotic voice. It's very, very nice sort of to listen to. Built-in splitter and heading sensor. So it's got a built-in splitter. So if you were to go to a second VHF in the boat and have a second VHF, with a lot of that are doing that now, you wouldn't have to then go and run another VHF antenna. You've got another output for VHF. NMEA 2000 gateway. So we can integrate 0183 data into this, as well as NMEA 2000 and Wi-Fi. So a boat's Wi-Fi, so internet Wi-Fi. The cool thing about these is, as you were just talking about, is if you have this hooked up to the boat's Wi-Fi, you would then connect your handpiece to the boat's Wi-Fi, and that would increase the range over the whole boat. So if you had this up the top and you had, let's say you're walking up the front, you're doing anchor, dropping the anchor, checking that, you would be able to stand up the front of the boat and call back to what's in the deck. So that would then get broadcasted back. So the range of the VHF, you can walk around with it in your pocket or on a lanyard, wherever you are within Wi-Fi reception to the house or the boat's Wi-Fi, it would then work straight back to this. So you're not relying on the built-in Wi-Fi. You're using the power of the boat's Wi-Fi, which would be a lot greater. So universal compatibility, so NMEA 2000. So we'll look on this, but you can start to bring in like wind instruments, depth sensors, anything that comes in via NMEA 2000, we can monitor from this system as well. So if we're walking around the boat or we're downstairs and we wanted to check the depth, we can actually just look on the VHF and go to like our apps or our monitoring, and it would just give us all of that data. So we can look at wind, anything that's coming in via NMEA 2000. Cortex Onboard app, so basically connecting your phone to this guy, and you've basically got the complete integration of what's on the handpiece minus the VHF. It's the only thing. So you can start to set like your anchor drag and everything like that from your phone, and you'll get audioable alarms through your phone if you use the app. Integrated vessel monitoring, so we'll get to that as well. So pretty much a quick rundown. So completely waterproof module as well, so if you've got to put it in an area that's a little bit wet, obviously these boats aren't going to get wet where you're going to put these. Just a quick rundown of all the ports. So you've got obviously VHF antenna, auxiliary VHF port, which is going to our secondary VHF, or if we do have one in the boat. Our 12 volt or 24 volt power. Antenna ports, so there's 3 here. We've got a Wi-Fi, we've got a GPS and a cellular. So if you were to bring in, you could hardwire like a Wi-Fi dongle or something like that straight into one of these. So you're not relying on the Wi-Fi reception between the two. Mounting holes, audio port. So this is where we can integrate like a hailer mic. Really, really great tool if you've got people outside of the boat or you're trying to alarm someone. Incredibly loud, and you can control how loud you would voice that over the mic itself. And then it's also got like all your distress alarms. So you've got all of your international port side alarms, starboard side alarms, everything like that is all listed in the mic itself. Input and output. So this is where we can, as a remote monitoring, we can input data such as high water alarms, security alarms, door switches. So if someone opened the door while you're away from it, you can actually set it up so you get notifications to your phone saying that back door of boat has been opened, or shallow water alarm, or position has moved, anchor drag's moved, etc. That can all be sent straight to your phone, which is the monitoring side. So we'll touch on that in a sec. So obviously we've got tethered and portable. We just touched on that. So we've got out of stress button, which is in the back. So it's basically like a quick, so it's the red button on the back of it, which is that guy there. We would flick that, and obviously that would send our distress call with all of our data, MMSI, everything like that, straight to Coast Guard or wherever we need.
Rewind.
Yep, so we got our speaker. So there's a couple different buttons on the side of the head unit. You've got obviously plus and minus on the side. We've got our power button and then our mic button. So for VHF or halophone or anything like that, it's all on the side. All you guys will get all this stuff as well. So if you do go down the track of putting one in, or if you have got one, you'll be able to cross back to all of this stuff. Couple quick rundowns. So the cool thing about these, if we go to the VHF screen, we've got basically, or we go not to VHF, yeah. So we've got presets down the bottom. So all of these are, instead of flicking through 20 different channels to get to the one that you want, we can actually save presets. So you're not going to use a heap of different channels. We could go through and just add in the ones that we're going to use. Then from there, we've got our previous channel. We can mute the mic from here. And then obviously all of our statuses up the top. So GPS position, and then obviously the main one would be the channel that we're calling on. VHF channel, so we got low and high. So low power will come up as L, high power, so you got 5 watt or 1 watt and 25 watt. This will, if you DSC call, this will do it automatically depending on the distance that they're away, how far they are from the boat. So if they're close, it would automatically select the low. If they are at a far distance, it would select it at a high. So that would do it in the background automatically.
Will it scan channels?
Yep, we can go through and just do a complete scan. You can also independently scan. So if you wanted to only scan 3 channels, it would just scan those 3. Yep. Obviously, this is our chart plotter page. So instead, you won't get a chart on it, but it would show any AIS vessels within range. So you've got the plus and minus to zoom in and out. You can recenter. So if you wanted to move, you would be able to scroll around. So then from here, we could pinch and zoom, go out, push on this target out here. So then we can highlight that guy, and then we've got all their details straight to the VHF. So call sign, heading, speed, any of the necessary data. And then from there, we could go call, and then calling in process. So that would be your direct DSC call. So then as well, if we wanted to call them on a different channel, we would then select the channel that we wanted to call them on. So if we wanted to change the channel to, let's say, 73, we would select that, and then we would try again on 73 if you couldn't get them on a certain channel. All right, so basically an overview of everything that the unit will do. So we've got our directory, which we spoke about before, anything that's within range. We can go through and go, okay, I want to call blah, 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 select him, get all his information, and go from there. VHF, so obviously we spoke about all of our presets on the VHF mic. Instruments, so if we were to go to our instrument on here, this is where we can start to bring in depth alarms, wind, position, anything that's coming in via NMEA 2000. You've got access on here. So a lot of you guys would have either a DSD 800 or a Garmin IntelliJuicer, or via NMEA 2000, you would be able to pull the depth up of the boat. And that is also comes across monitoring as well. So if you were using the monitoring subscription and you're away from the boat, it would actually give you the monitoring of those particular devices that are on in the boat. So obviously the NMEA 2000 would have to be turned on. But as long as that's turned on and those particular things is running, you've got access to monitor and check all of that stuff.
What do you think, how far away would it connect? How far away can you be?
Like if it's the
shore,
yep.
And you want your depth and that sort of thing to check on your depth on the boat. Can you do that from shore?
Without the subscription or with the subscription?
With the subscription.
Oh, as far as you want, as long as it's got cellular data. It's got built-in cellular range, so 4G. As long as you've got internet, you can be anywhere and have it. Yep. So you could be overseas, the boat could be in here, and you could do a quick checkup on it, and you know exactly where the position of the boat, that all your alarms are okay, nothing's gone off, and anything that's coming in via NMEA 2000.
And that's through that app?
Yep, through the monitoring app. Yep.
But you network through the tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could, then you would set it up and have NMEA 2000 turned on.
In dock unattended.
In dock unattended, correct. Yep, yep. Very easy for C-Zone to then trigger that. Yep, no worries at all. Man overboard, so what we just did before, it would basically set a waypoint straight away. Yep.
What if that goes overboard? Is it waterproof? Does it float?
They are waterproof, but they don't float. Yeah. So as long as you can swim, you're good. Yeah. Yeah, they do have lanyard points, so if you do, like if you are walking around the boat, it would be a great idea to just clip a lanyard onto it or something. Yeah.
They have a linear little clip attached.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, we got everything there. Standard menu, so anchor watch. This is where we can start to have, if we have, the cool thing about this is you can have multiple around the boat. So you can have one upstairs, one in the hallway and the galley downstairs as well. And they all work simultaneously. They all work in together. So if you were to set anchor drag up at the flybridge, if you were to go downstairs and you're downstairs doing something and you did drift outside anchor, it would then alarm off this. So same thing as if you do it on the head units, it would then trigger an alarm through the sound system. Personally, if it was me, this would be like a daytime thing, just parked up at the back, like park up at Tangas, you're sitting there. If you do drift outside and you've got, let's say they got that in your pocket or you got your phone, it'll text you and say, hey, like you're drifting outside. At night time, I'd be doing it through the audible alarm in the head unit in the Garmin, way louder. If you can't wake up to that, you got more issues than that because it's so loud. I remember displaying it to people or doing a handover, and you're like, oh Jesus, and everyone's scared. Yeah, man overboard, collision avoidance. So this is where it uses AIS, so any AIS target. If it's not AIS, it won't pick it up. But any other AIS target that's traveling across your heading or there's potentially a collision point, it will also alarm you of that. So, all right. VHF call, we spoke of that, very simple. It's the big button on the side. We select our VHF channel. We've got our presets, and as we push it down, it'll just come up with transmitting across the screen. Pretty simple to use.
Sorry, Harry.
Yep.
For vessels that are not set with an AIS, would you be able to pair that to a collision radar as an option to be fitted on the boat?
Correct.
So you can spot anything, like everything, including what's on the AIS and what's not on the AIS. Let's say a fisherman in the middle of the night, you don't see it, but that will pick it up.
On radar, yeah. So your MAPA alarm on the radar, which is all you guys would have MAPA, you would turn that on. Anything that travels within or is crossing your heading or in a collision path. And when you originally set the head unit up, you'll have a collision settings. So you would set 3 minutes and 500 meters, whatever comes first, or you can set it at 2 kilometers or whatever. That would then use that. If you were to come in with, let's say, 2 minutes of collision, it would then pop up on the screen and say collision alarm. We will get to that, but it's all in the alarms in the screen itself.
What is a DSC call?
DSC call is basically like I'm individualizing you out. It's
Through
via AIS. Yep. Yep. So it's using AIS and the VHF channel together. So it'll alarm you independently, but then if we're on channel 16 and how I'm alarming you on channel 16, it will still broadcast over the whole lot, but it's just getting your attention. Yep. Yep. Collision avoidance. So basically, if we were to have a collision or potential collision with someone, it would then alarm us what vessel it is. If there's someone that's close and you know that they're there, they know that you're there, but it's constantly going off, you can always just turn them off. Case by case, obviously. As they're moving, it will obviously you can have port side and starboard side on each vessel. So as you can see here, as this boat starts to travel there, it's saying that this is its heading, that's its port side, that's its starboard side. Obviously it'll be pretty self-explanatory because on pretty much all the targets it'll have a little heading line as well. Man overboard, same as what we did before. As soon as we hit our man overboard, it'll basically drop a waypoint And then our red line is our turning circle to get back to that man overboard point. So if you were to hit that, as you can see, it's telling you need to be turning around and your man overboard's here. You want to be lining up with that red line that's there. That's the heading that you need to be on. And then the distress. So pretty simple. If you're in major safety, that is your point of contact, or EPIRB, one of the two. Preferably EPIRB first, then that. Anchor watch, yeah, we've already really touched on that. Once we go to our anchor watch page, you'll be able to set your radius. So you can either set full customizer radius, so you can have it at whatever you want, obviously depending on the depth that you've got it set to. And then once that's all set up, we would turn on our anchor drag. And if we were to drift outside, you can obviously silence it or do what you need, or you can recenter. So that there is our recenter. So if you were to get back up, reset your anchor alarm, and then you would push that recenter, that would obviously create your anchor drag around that point again. We'll get into the head unit and the way of doing it from the head unit as well. Yeah, so this is basically, we can alert ourselves with wind speed, direction, or changes of wind speed, direction, and water depth. So you would be able to set an alarm of a shallow water alarm of no shallower than 1 meter under the boat. If it was to go to that, then you would be able to, it would notify you via the app. With wind direction, or wind speed, let's say you wanted to be notified when wind gets over 30 knots at the boat, you could also set that. As long as you've got a wind instrument on the boat for it to read, it would alarm you of that as well. So there's plenty that you can set up in the way of notifications back to the phone. Yeah, so making sure that you are setting your anchor drag exactly where the boat's dropping the anchor. So a lot of the time you'll get people that'll go, they'll drop their anchor and then they'll lock back off on their chain and then set their anchor drag from there. What that'll do is you're basically setting the radius away from your pivot point. So as soon as you were to spin away from your pivot point, it would go outside of the radius. Not that you've drifted or anything like that. It's just that the boat has been locked off and now you've set the radius around the boat. So you need to be setting the radius around where the anchor is. Yeah, pretty simple. Make sure the boat's anchored safely before you set your alarms and stuff like that. That's just a couple pointers really. All right, the apps that we've got available. So obviously we've got the Cortex Onboard app, which is everything that will give you access to the VHF on board. So as I said, we'll do everything, basically everything bar the VHF feature. So you can't call VHF off it. We'll still give you Wi-Fi connectivity to the hub, view AIS information so you could pull up other vessels, same as the directory or the plotter itself. Manage your anchor watch. So if you're on board, obviously you're going to be within range of the VHF and the AIS itself. You would be able to go downstairs or something like that, or sit on the back deck. If you did drift away from your anchor drag, it would alert you on your phone. And monitor any of your NMEA 2000. So that depth, wind, all of that stuff will come across onto your phone as well. All right, the monitoring app. So this is a cellular based modem. So anything that it's got its own 4G. So when you pay the subscription, it will basically turn on the data inside this. So it doesn't require Wi-Fi externally. You don't have to connect it to Starlink or anything like that. If you were to connect it to Starlink, it basically takes away from your monitoring. So your monitoring is purely at a dock with reception. Tracking your vessel. So if, let's say, someone was moving it, or you had a skipper that was moving it from place to place, you would be able to monitor that. Anchor watch away from it. So if it's got its tied up or something like that, you would obviously just turn on your anchor drag. If it was to move outside of that, obviously you would get notified of that. So real-time sensors, so any of the information that was coming in via NMEA 2000, you've got access to completely remotely, wherever you are. You're overseas, you can check on the boat, check on high water alarms, all that sort of stuff. And there's 2 levels of subscription. So we've got our light and our premium. Our light basically gives you set times throughout the day that it'll update you on the boat. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, it will go, hey, like you've got 2 meters under the boat, it's blowing 35 knots, your position is this, GPS position, and your heading, or vessel's heading is this. So you go, okay, cool, but if you wanted to go back in at 9:30, it would give you no different information till, let's say, 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, it'll give you an update, and then at 6 o'clock, it'll do the same thing. The premium will give you complete access all the time. So wherever you are, you want to check on the boat, you can do it no matter what time it is. Onboard app, as I said, easy as to use. It's no different to the interface that's on the screen. The screens are obviously touch screen as well, so it's basically just like having a bigger version of that, just without the AIS.
Does it work on the iPad as well?
Yep. Yep. Yep, so the monitor app, we've already touched on that. Tracking your vessel, monitoring bilge, security sensors. We make sensors as well, so we've got a couple security sensors, like magnet sensors that as soon as they pull apart, so door open sensors. If you were to have someone open the back door, it would then alarm you as well. So there's heaps of shore power is a big one. So if you lose shore power, you can also pull in like fridge temp sensors. So if you had a fridge on the boat and you had stuff in it, if it was to go above a certain temperature, it would also alert you as well. So there's plenty of stuff you can start to bring into these guys. But obviously NMEA 2000 is unlimited because you've got a backbone that's as long as you want it.
So this is the one that's going to take over from Vesper? No, sorry.
Yeah, for the boat monitoring side, 100%. Yeah, and the cool thing about it, you buy that one unit, it's everything.
The siren's not yours though?
No. No.
So how much is this?
We'll get to, I think it's like the next slide even. Pretty much how he said it. It's just another slide on that. That's the monitoring app. So you got your notification. So anchor watch alarm has been triggered. We can go through high water sensor, bilge alarm, hatch. So like hatches, same sensor as a door. So if you had a hatch opened or something like that.
You have tank levels on your network? With that?
Yep. Yes, you can bring in tank levels. Yep. So limited. So obviously they got limited inputs via like ohms or voltage.
Sorry, via NMEA only.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
So you'd be able to pull like a tank if you had wanted to look at a tank level or something like that. You'd be able to do that as well. Battery level. So if you had a house battery, set that up, or whatever the shore power is hooked up to. Air pressure. So if you had some sort of compressor or system on the boat, you would be able to monitor pressure, water depth, and the list goes on. So not only can you monitor it, it keeps a track as well.
Sorry, will this implement like installing a specific device, like Siren Marines, for example, where you got like the bilge pump?
Yep.
And then you need the Vesper Cortex device connected to the bilge pump?
Correct.
Or is actually something through C-Zone?
So no, it'll pull through. It won't come through C-Zone.
Mm-hmm.
We won't read off C-Zone. But if you've got like a high water trigger or an alarm, all you would need is just the positive feed out of that, and then go straight into the Vesper unit. Okay. So as soon as it triggers the high water alarm, which would trigger the noise in the boat, it would then trigger the unit. So these have basically like a 12-pin connection. Mm-hmm. So 12 wires, you basically have like 12 inputs that aren't NMEA 2000. So whether that's voltage or anything like that's not NMEA 2000. So bilge alarms, anything that just triggers power or resistance or temp senders, because probably everything's pretty much got a common negative. Mm-hmm. Everything comes in by a positive into that.
But what I was trying to say is like comparing this product to Siren Marine example, to control the mid bilge pump.
Yep.
There is a device on the mid bilge pump. For the rear one, there is a device on the rear one. But as long as those bilge pumps are connected to the C-Zone system and they're not triggered, so there's like a voltage going through, we can probably see them through the NMEA 2000 network. Like example, the voltage of the boat that gets picked up by C-Zone.
Yep.
So I won't have to install a second device on the batteries to monitor the voltage of the batteries.
Correct.
Because Season is already
Because
doing
it's
it,
just
so
via NMEA 2000. Yep.
So yeah,
So it would have a house.
that they have to
Yeah.
buy to control all
So
of
there'd
it.
be a unit voltage, which would just be NMEA 2000 voltage,
yeah,
basically. Yep. Yep.
But
And then
most
from
of it
there,
is
if you
like
had
what-
if you had like a second battery system, so if you had a
Yes.
start system,
Yeah,
you could
then
then
you could
monitor
wire
that as a
that.
second battery
Yes.
source. Yep. Yep.
So how's it reading the battery? Is it giving you a percentage of charge or voltage?
It'll purely just give you voltage. Yep.
That's the same as siren,
Yep.
Yeah.
which when you're using lithium batteries
Is hard.
the best way.
Yep. Yep. There is guys out there that are doing state of charge, but we don't have the shunts to run it through one of these to do it.
That's where it's a shame it doesn't read through CISO.
So, I can't tell you too much, but I'd love to spill beans right now. But there's things happening in that case.
On
Yeah.
deck is the same, yeah? It's still
On deck's just voltage. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, siren is.
Yeah.
Yeah, siren is
on
on
deck.
your house.
But siren is too, yeah.
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 The good thing is, like in siren, every time you want to add a new device, example, I only have after bilge and mid bilge. By any chance, I put a new bilge on the bow thruster compartment that wasn't there. That's my extra. With Siren Marine, I have to buy a specific device to then pair to that bilge pump. Well, this one, as long as it's not kicked in, or I am putting a high water switch,
Yeah.
like a floaty switch.
Yeah. It's just 12 volt
That's
triggers.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
Is that lined or premium?
That's the premium. That's premium only. Yeah. So you've either got monthly or annually. Either way.
Hardware, you sure? So